Sí le preguntamos a mucha gente que iba en la calle, nos bajamos en 2 establecimientos y todos inmediatamente les cambiaba la voz y la mirada, se ponían tensos y como que su comportamiento era un poco duro y entendíamos perfectamente que estábamos ante y no sabía yo absolutamente nada de esto, que evidentemente por razones obvias lo estaban protegiendo y escondiendo. Y evidentemente nunca encontramos la casa de Bergman. Como te decía, de verdad es que si el cine fuese una religión, o el cine es la religión, esto es como la Meca o el Vaticano. es como realmente el centro.
Det är en märklig förväntan nu att få gå in i en ganska nydöd persons hem. Ja, det blir lite så här besöka olustiga huset.
This is a prop from The Wizard of Oz.
Lite Berlinmur sådär. Bergmans tyska ådra.
What does it mean, område?
Private area.
Hey, what is this? Big Brother is talking to us? It's a little bit frightening, huh? I must say. There is no dog, huh? Tell me the truth. Because if there is a dog coming, then...
Hallå, hej. Hej. Thomas heter jag.
Kerstin heter jag.
Hej Kerstin. Vill du att man tar av skorna eller?
Jo, det är reglerna här.
Aha.
Står av. Ägarna har köpt tofflor som man kan använda istället.
Och så kan man ha en. Hello.
So we leave our shoes where?
Just inside of the door, and then you'll switch.
Oh, that's too small.
Ja, det är manuell här. Det är en gamla porrisen. En väldigt spännande film. Den här är en kvinna som är naken, tror jag det handlar om. Man ser det.
Ja, Die Hard. Die Hard tror jag att han har sett. Die Hard tror jag att han har sett. Ja, Die Hard har han sett. That's it. Videoavgift betald. Videoavgift betald. Han har hyrt den här och så har han inte lämnat tillbaka den. Det måste det ju vara. Han har hyrt den och så bara skitit och lämnat tillbaka den. Hey man, jag är Bergman. Va? Come and get me. Va? Jag sitter på Fårö på ett slott här. Häftigt.
This is where we are.
It's hard because you asked me why people are nervous talking about him, especially filmmakers. Actually, it's when I revere, it's in awe.
No, I'm okay. Sometimes I forget the chronology of his work, but...
Oh, that's okay.
And who's doing this again?
We're good, right?
I did like his movies. I was saying before I was trying to review some of the movies so I could be more, more up to speed about, if you hit me with a question, I might be able to answer. So now I'm at a disadvantage. I've been carrying them around with me too, and I've been so busy then. And I will see them, but if I see you in 6 months, I will have seen them, but now.
What actors are comedians from the Bergman films? Like any of the big, like Gunnar Bjornstad. Did you say Bjornstad?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how to pronounce these names probably. I mean, you say Sidov, right? Von Sydow, yeah. You don't say, we say Sydow. Well, anyway, in America they say Max von Sydow, but it's Sydow, right? But none of those guys are from a comic tradition, or are they?
Con el permiso del señor Bergman. Es muy emocionante. Muy emocionante.
In my late teens, I saw the first one was Summer with Monica, I think. I can't remember now. But, there was such a big fuss over it in Brooklyn where I lived because there was a nude scene in it, and everybody in the neighborhood was running to the movies, not to see the movie, to see the nude scene. And I was no different than anybody else. And I thought it was a very good picture. I mean, really excellent, excellent movie. And then the name Ingmar Bergman didn't mean anything to me. I just saw the film, never thought about the director, and went home.
When I would see like Monica and sexy Sweden movies, and you know the women, pictures of the women like splashed all over. There's probably one frame in the picture that has this, but they splash it all over the theater. And I didn't know. I was also very, very much involved in Roman Catholicism at the time. There was the condemned list, and most of Ingmar Bergman's films were on those. I read an interview, a different way of looking at things, obviously. I read an interview to the New York Times years ago of Bergman when they asked him if he thought anything was funny, and he said, yes, sex. Sex is very funny. And I guess it is. I don't remember.
I had a wonderful 2-3 hours once with Harriet Anderson. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know that this was the girl I had this crush on from age 17 to, and she was so nice. I didn't know who she was. I mean, I knew she was a Swedish actress. She was a more mature woman, but she was really nice.
Jag är inte någon intellektuell skådespelerska på något sätt. Och Ingmar sa alltid att Harriet, hon är inte så mycket för det psykiska, hon är mer för det fysiska. Och det stämmer nog. Men du vet, det är ju ingen idé att hålla på och hatta. Man ska vara i tid, som jag säger. Man ska kunna sina repliker. Och sen när kameran går, då går man igång, va?
I remember what I felt when I saw Monica the first time. I felt physically what is it to be a young woman, this feeling of summer, youth, and to be in the present. There is for me till today something unique in that film, like how many times, maybe 3 times, I wrote a script that I call Monica, because I thought it's like a magical word for me to say a young woman with a body that is alive. I took it as if it was made only for me.
Vet du, där får roller skrivna direkt för sig. Det är en ganska fin känsla. Det kan nog tänkas, om jag tänker efter, att hade jag inte fått göra de andra rollerna sen i Ingmars filmer, så kanske jag hade bara fått gå omkring och pluta.
Prøv nu at se her. Prøv lige en gang. Du kan ikke komme lidt op med kameraet, vel? Så du får lidt mere vulva med. Sådan her har den dame stået i 5 år. Bare det er interessant, at der er en opstilling, hvor vi har Ingmar Bergmans, en eller anden bog om Bergman, hvor han sidder med sin skide alpehue på igen, og sin viewfinder, som jeg også købte kun på grund af Bergman, fordi han altid gik med sådan en viewfinder. Og det må man gå ud fra, at han har brugt den til noget. Men det er da bare interessant, at den opstilling har ligesom stået her og mindet mig om Bergman og hans køk også. At køken var et stort problem for ham, fordi han var stadig kort som ind i helvede, og han blev ældre og ældre og ældre og ældre. Så vi må da gå ud fra, at der har siddet en gammel Bergman, og jeg vil meget gerne have, at du tager det her med i programmet. At der har siddet en gammel Bergman og masturberet som en sindesyg ude på Fårö, i hans kloster, i hans fantastiske biblioteker, i hans hjemmebiografer, i midten af magten over det svenske kulturliv, har der siddet en gammel idiot og runket som en sinnessyg. Fordi han selv har udtalt, at det er svært at blive gammel og stadigvæk være lige kåt. Og der kan jeg ikke forestille mig andet, end at han så har masturberet. Det er fuldstændig umuligt at forestille sig andet. Ikke? Men det er måske ikke noget, man vil lægge vægt på i en Bergman-udsendelse, men Bergman har sikkert lagt vægt på det, og han har sikkert ventet. Muligvis har han haft en ganske lille sædblære, det vil sige sædblåser, som gjorde det, at han måtte, og så har han jo sikkert måtte vente i dagevis for ligesom at opbygge tilstrækkelig sæd til at få en sædafgang, så man overhovedet kunne mærke den stakkels gamle mand. Men nej, det er bare fordi vi bliver nødt til, når vi prater om ikoner, bliver vi nødt til at komme ihåg, at de skiter, ligesom vi skider, og de har opkast, ligesom vi har opkast, og de har masturbation, ligesom vi har masturbation. Det synes jeg er vigtigt at tænke på.
Så det är ju väldigt mycket i Bergmans filmer som är roligt. Och som bär på en sorts tyst humor. Som inte är liksom gapflabbsorienterad. Han kanske inte representerar den här livebandsdelen av underhållningsindustrin.
Maybe, let's see, this is actually, I think the back way.
It's a strange place to have a toilet.
Yeah, I know.
I would like to know if it's possible to shoot you on the balcony so we have something to edit it with.
Sure.
Looking out at Paris.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Comedy is not the word you think of with Bergman. He is one of those directors who can do movies where there is not a single joke in the whole movie and the movie stays, and the movie does not suffer for it. And there aren't that many. There aren't that many movies you can think of where you say there was nothing funny. There's comic dialogue that's sort of archly comic, and it isn't like spontaneously comic. It's more like kind of very written jokes, you know, which are probably not hysterically funny. But the mood does have a lightness that goes with that, and it's all really of a piece, and it's and you know, but it may not be the hand of a comedy director doing it. It's just such a well-done film, and that's the tone of it. I mean, maybe does that sound right?
Jag minns hans otroliga humor. Och direkthet. Jag tror att det var direktheten. Han hade ett språk som var någon slags förening av ett väldigt modernt språk och ett väldigt gammeldags språk och tillgång till... han hade en tillgång till språket som gjorde att han var så exakt och så direkt. Och det blev ofta väldigt roligt.
I don't see the films as funny. I mean, sometimes in exasperation. It's like, oh, God, don't do that. And they do it.
We never spoke about religion, God, philosophy, death. The one thing that we did speak in relation to death, he was telling me that in some of his most heavy moments, when they're doing death, like on the Seventh Seal, the crew would be laughing and they would be, you know, very aware that they were making a melodramatic moment for everybody, and nobody took anything very seriously in that sense.
Vem är du?
Jag är döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv. Vänta ett ögonblick.
Så säger ni alla. Men jag lämnar inga uppskov.
Du spelar ju schack, inte sant?
Hur vet du det?
Ja. Jag har sett det på målningar och hört i visorna.
Ja, jag är verkligen en ganska skicklig schackspelare.
Du kan ändå inte vara skickligare än jag.
Varför vill du spela schack med mig?
Det är min sak.
Det har du rätt i.
Villkoret är att jag får leva så länge jag står dig emot. Spelar jag det matt, förger du mig. Du fick svart.
Det passar ju bäst så. Inte sant?
One of the things about Bergman is he was very bold, and whenever you do something different or for the first time, it's very hard to understand for a later audience the impact of that. I mean, now the Seventh Seal is like a joke, you know. I mean, it's, you know, the image of death with the sight and playing chess with death. And the Seventh Seal, it's like a cliche. But at the time, it was so radical and startling and impressive. And I still like that movie, but there are things in the movie now that you've seen satirized so much that it's hard to see it.
Well, he's easy to parody because he's such a stylist and so so intense that, you know, that you can parody him.
I can confess and say of Mr. Bergman's many, many, many films, how many features did he direct? 45, 50, 55, something like that? A lot. He directed a lot. And his stuff for TV, Late in Life, and his wonderful, how prolific he was. I've maybe only seen 10. I don't think The Seventh Seal holds up. And that's one of people's favorite films. You see Seventh Seal in college, and it's so profound and all that. You see it later, it's laughable. But others of his films hold up more, probably.
There are some films that require some knowledge to get the maximum out of. And, you know, a film like The Magician of the Seventh Seal, it helps if you know some philosophy. When I first saw these films, I didn't know my Danish philosophy or German philosophy. But I was able to completely be enthralled by them because he's such a great storyteller, you know. And now I can see them and understand them more.
God.
It's such an odd idea that walk through a landscape at the time of the plague and that death will be in a chap following you around with a chessman game and it'll eventually catch you up, it'll get to you. I thought it was so brutal. That's what it was beautifully brutal. Once I came to the Royal College, I would honestly spend almost 2 or 3 nights a week in the National Film Theatre because there was a student ticket price, so you could go in there with your pack of cigarettes. And I watched almost all of the Bergman films, Kurosawa, and you know, anything interesting, different, Polish films. So it was an entire door open on alternative cinema, which of course I took to completely hook, line, sinker. And Bergman stuff, everything about it was, he comes from the school of everything. I like you quoting the school of everything, where those directors are into everything. It's not just the script, the story, the actors, but how it looks. Its mood is very, very important. My favorite one, of course, was Seventh Seal, which I think was absolutely remarkable in its ideas and its journey was almost like science fiction. It was so amazing.
Håll dig där borta på andra sidan trästammen.
Jag är rädd för att dö! Jag vill inte dö! Jag vill inte! Kan inte förbarma er över mig? Hjälp mig! Tala åtminstone med mig!
Strindberg, der Leseplatz mit wunderbarer Aussicht.
Ich bin ja in Österreich aufgewachsen, das ja ein rein katholisches Land ist. Und da mein Vater Deutscher ist oder war, bin ich evangelisch getauft worden und war dort sozusagen eine kleine radikale Minderheit. Und habe das sehr ernst genommen. Also ich habe, so mit 14 habe ich noch überlegt, ob ich Pfarrer werde. Du hast noch das Licht hier, Light from here, it's perfect. Und dadurch sind natürlich gerade diese frühen Filme von Bergman bei mir auf fruchtbaren Boden gefallen. Also sie haben mich schon damals sehr beeinflusst. Die kamen damals in einer Filmlandschaft, die sonst nur aus irgendwelchen dummen Lederhosen-Komödien bestand. Und es ist in dem Alter, wenn man so Dostojewski liest und sagt, endlich hat jemand verstanden, wie ich mich fühle, so war das mit diesen Filmen auch. Die waren für uns alle damals von enormer Wirkung, auch weil sie neu war, weil es diese Art von intensiver Auseinandersetzung mit grundsätzlichen Fragen sonst im Kino bei uns jedenfalls nicht gab.
I think more than almost anybody else, he was very religious, and it felt like a religion that was similar to the one I had come out of. So very strict and kind of very channeled lives, and you know, not doing anything that would displease God, and having your children in line and all of those things. But I also loved his sense of theater, sort of the costumes, the fact that you could have death as a character and talking to people and saying, well, your time is up, that's why I'm sawing down the tree you're in, you know, that sort of feel.
Fan i mig, är det mitt träd de tänker såga ner? Din förtuppade taskfrans, vad tänker du göra med mitt träd, va? Kan du inte svara åtminstone hövlighet kostar så lite? Vem är du egentligen? Jag sågar ner i träd. Eftersom din tid är ute. Det går inte, jag har inte tid. Har du inte tid? när jag har min föreställning.
Nej, den är inställd på grund av dödsfall.
Men min kontrakt.
When did you start thinking about death?
Very young. You know, it's been an obsessive subject with me since I was tiny boy, 5, 6 years old. And I think that may be a big reason why Bergman resonated with me so much.
Es que la muerte es un tema omnipresente. El miedo al fin, a la nada, al dolor de la muerte. Los ataques de ansiedad o de pánico creo que pueden dispararse, en mi caso, al ver una película de Bergman, porque sí hay un vértigo existencial. No creo que haya personas más vitales que los que están muriendo y sábense morir. Los que se saben que van a morir pronto, me parece que respiran y perciben y exprimen la vida. Quizá con dolor, pero también con una contemplación mucho más profunda y con una valoración que los que aún de pronto pensamos que eso no nos va a pasar a nosotros.
There is no real way of dealing with it. All you can do is distract yourself. If you don't distract yourself, then you're faced with thinking about it. When you think about it, it's a terrifying and impossible losing proposition. So it's best to try and not think about it. And if not thinking about it means that you turn on a Fred Astaire movie, or you go to a football game, or you spend your energy trying to write a play and figure out the problems of the second act, and they consume you. Great, be consumed by this trivia. New York was showing Wild Strawberries. That's the first time I knew the name, because I saw it in print, and then I saw the picture and related it back to Summer with Monica and The Naked Night. And then very shortly after that, they showed, I believe, on a double feature, Seventh Seal and the Magician. And by that time, I was completely, hooked. I mean, completely. I just thought he was the best filmmaker that I'd ever seen. He was entertaining. It was not going to a film that I'm supposed to like because it's a noble film or a worthy film. It was actually entertaining. The burden of entertainment was on him. I paid the $1.50 or whatever it was and sat down in the movie theater. And he grabbed me right away, and I was completely mesmerized and suspenseful for the whole movie, involved in it, because he was a wonderful entertainer. And his images were so beautiful and dramatic and full of feeling and potent. And the content, the intellectual content of the movie resonated deeply with me. He was touching on themes and ideas, feelings that were very, very meaningful to me personally.
我觉得当然是人了，人的故事，人的情感，人的思想，我觉得这个是共通的。就像我当年上学的时候看到伯格曼先生的《野草莓》坦率的时候，我基本上也没完全看懂，但是你会被深深吸引和震撼，你会觉着里边传递出来人的那种处境，人的生活状态和人的精神状态，你会觉着触及到了，所以我觉得这个是共通的，这个是超越所有的，超越国界，超越民族的。至今电影成为一个影响力最大的一个大家都喜欢的艺术，我觉得就是这样子，沟通大家的就是关于人和人的故事，人和人的情感。
Smultronstellet, når han gjorde det der var det jo med et kamera, der var så her stort. Der skulle 2 mand til at flytte det. Det vil sige, at man måtte jobbe meget mere kontrolleret. Altså man kunne ikke sige, ja, men så flytter vi kameraet så der lidt grann. Det gik ikke. Man måtte ligesom sætte det, og det er også derfor, at stilarterne, eller stilen i Bergmans film, har jo udviklet sig samtidig med teknikken, om han ville det eller ej. Han sagde jo altid, ham der, hans fotograf, hvad hedder hans Svend Nyqvist, ja, var fantastisk, fordi at han kunne sætte sådan et stykke, som vi på dansk kalder smørbrødspapir, sådan et stykke pergament på en lampe, og så funker det alt. Men for faren, det kan alle fotografer jo. Altså idiot. Så skal man altså være meget teknisk ubegavet for at tykke, at det er en fantastisk landvinding. Det gør alle mennesker jo. Men det var altså Bergman fuldstændig fantastisk op og køre over. Han satte bare noget pergament på. Og det har han fortalt igen og igen og igen og igen og igen. Og så hold nu kæft.
I didn't like Virgin Spring when I saw it, because I thought, this is like a medieval revenge play. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, it is a medieval revenge play.
I checked out Virgin Spring again recently to see, was it a little naive? Not at all. All his stuff still stands right there. It still holds up.
The Virgin Spring, things get tougher, stronger. The real fascinating part of that story and the way it's done, the way it's shot, is the association. There seems to be always something in his work that has something that's pre-Christian. As pre-Christian, as something that comes out of that landscape that is of a different culture and mindset, that is something that may have been almost wiped away by a conversion to Christianity, almost, but not quite, you know, out of, I don't know, Scandinavia, Iceland, you know, and that seems to always be fighting. There seems to be a tension with his characters, and Virgin Spring has that flat out. You see it completely. You feel it. And I guess one just has to, at that time I didn't know, I was too young, but one has to read, you know, you read the sagas, or the Icelandic sagas, and you get a sense of what that world might have been like, you know, and then you impose Christianity on it, and watch the fun.
The Virgin Spring was such a perfect story frame of, you know, a family that's religious, a child that's innocent, going off on a pilgrimage, ending up with the rape and murder. The perfect people, the religious people, becoming savage, and the savages becoming fearful and frightened and crying and being at the mercy of somebody else that's being violent, just struck me as an incredibly powerful paradigm for so much of life that involves violence.
Every time a Bergman film came out, which was very frequent, you knew that there was another level you had to reach to with him, where he was going to take you. He may leave you behind a little, a lot maybe, but you knew that there was something special that you were going to see. And it was going to provoke you creatively, especially if you're deciding to start to make your own pictures. The major influence, I would say, was the inspiration of Bergman, the opening of the mind, if at all possible, making you feel that anything can be done, storytelling visually and with dialogue, looking right at the camera, speaking, all of this sort of thing. This was the key element. I mean, for me, Bergman, but primarily, what was most inspiring all along was of course, the constant debate about the spiritual debate, the transcendent debate. That's what really started the compulsion to see the Bergman pictures, even though I didn't understand a lot what was happening. Each one of the films was like a conversation with himself. It's almost as if he didn't care to see the pictures. I mean, you know, of course you did. People, of course, I'm sure he cared. People saw the films, but at a certain point, he just made them. One continuous conversation with himself and the people around him, and we still grapple with those ideas. But they're all there. That's why his pictures are not going to be out of fashion.
Wow. Pero son números.
Sí, hay más en...
Es curioso que son números. ¿Qué quiere? Este es un nombre, ¿no? Helen.
Sí.
Grigrau.
Y aquí...
Liv.
You who wanted my life.
Wow.
Mira,
leave is leaving.
Wow. 64. Y había corazones llenos y corazones vacíos.
And I don't know the difference really, but
95 está marcado. ¿Y estos de qué son, sabes? Estas son como de correo o de qué serán.
sí, sí, es un correo. It means that he got mail.
Undrar vad hjärtat är, om det är att de träffas och cirkeln är att de... Säg att det finns en cirkel med en prick under också. Ett å. Vad fan är ett å? Ett å med ett X. Det är jättemystiskt. Jättespeciellt. Här är jättemycket kärlek alltså. Här, 29/5/69. Det är år. Det är år. Det här är år. Det är 70. För det är 70 och sen är det... Men så i 95 är ju bortkryssat.
So horrible dreams nowadays. They're not merciful. Shit night. Here it says, I'm doing a great career and I can't sleep. I guess there's also here, afraid, afraid, afraid.
The end of 1973, I was 18. That's a day I can never forget. That day is my epiphany, so to speak. Actually, I think back then there's only one Bergman film available in Taiwan in the early 70s. I saw it with my friends in a film club, in a screening room. I saw it twice in a row. And I couldn't move. I felt my virginity was taken by this man. I didn't get it. I was just in awe. I'd never seen anything like that growing up in Taiwan, pretty academically, being a good boy. Don't think about anything fancy and, just do your homework and get to a college, and I failed that. And my mother is a fervent Christian. She took me to church every Sunday, and I prayed 4 times a day till I was 14. Then I just quit. Why am I doing this? So that was my background, and I saw Virgin Spring. Never saw art film before. Can you imagine the impact? I was dumbstruck. I don't know what hit me. I never know you can ask a question about faith. I never could imagine somebody, I remember the shot toward the end that still affects me till these days. When I shoot something contemplative, I always shoot from the back of people's head. That's the shot, like exactly from here. The father look up and say, God, why? When the father's contemplating murder, you just go up and there's a small tree by the hill. I don't know why that shot hit me like a sledgehammer, and he just look at the tree and go, ah.
高校生ぐらいかな。その時に「少女の泉」という映画をいやらしい映画と間違えて見に行って非常に退屈した覚えがあってそれが唯一のベルリンマン映画経験で今になってみればやっぱり見直そうとは思ってるんだけど。
It's a very, very powerful movie. And I mean, I know that when it came out, it was, you know, extremely taboo. But it kind of still is quite shocking. I mean, Bergman was just so unafraid of just putting the camera in just the most intimate angle to absorb someone. Well, for me, you know, watching The Silence, it invited me into the private realm of each of those three characters, you know, who are the people in that story. And they each go on these silent journeys, and some of them into a deep, deep, abiding loneliness that feels unsoothable, except for maybe with music. That's the beauty of film anyway. That's the language of film, really, is what you're seeing. You know, because also dialogue names the thing. It's not infinite anymore. It has limits. It has a ceiling. You know, and when things are not spoken, you know, anything is possible. It has endless depths, and, you know, it keeps going in all directions.
Silence is a great tool in cinema, maybe in all kinds of art film. I think when I use silence, I don't purposely use them, but I kind of use them quite a bit. I think that has something to do with my Chinese background, the Asian background. The Western art deal with matters a lot, and we deal with space a lot. It's just by tradition. So I think I like that form quite a bit. That's the way I will use silence. But silence sometimes, whether willful or unwillful, can be really powerful. Especially in the Bergman films.
それはベルギーマンとかそういうその当時の自分の知ってる限りのね感覚ではあったんだろうね。音に関して喋るということで相手に意思を伝えるということがまあ一つの手段だろうけど日本人の場合はわりかし喋んなくても分かるだろうっていうような言い方がよくあって、それは言っちゃいけないよってそんなこと言わなくて分かってるんだからっていうような言葉遣いもよくあるし、だからお互いに喋んなくても分かる部分っていうのはまあよくあることだからそれをわざわざ口に出して言う必要はないし、それをこう喋るっていうのは日本では無粋なやつという粋じゃないなこいつっていう言い方もあるくらいで。
This is a real luxury to have a library like this. Now, were these his labels? These were Bergman's labels? He put those up?
Yeah.
He was prolific. Persona I've seen 3 or 4 times, and I really enjoy that picture. And I saw my friend Greg, who just was like, you know, and I was really like, well, do you see how she's becoming her? And they can't tell. It's like, I'm really into it. He's like, you're nuts. So, but, you know, movies, that's the thing about movies. They're completely subjective. And everything about a movie, and this is something, there's 2 things I find that people don't understand. One is, it's not about ideas. No one gets that. It's not about ideas, because ideas are a dime a dozen, and there's no such thing as a new idea. It's about execution. Do you know what I mean? It's about the realization of it, how it's done. And That's one. And two is everything about a film, especially cinema, is who you are, the viewer, how old you are, where you are when you view it. And when you ask people their favorite movie, what's the best, your favorite movie? They can always tell you when and where they saw it, who they saw it with, because it's so much of the experience. And plus, you know, as you grow old, it's a strange word. I mean, you could say mature, grow more sophisticated, grow more worldly. But the truth is, as you age, you experience more. And things are different. You know, so many movies that people love, I say, don't see it again. Because if they see it again, they'll go, ooh, it's lousy, you know. That's wonderful that in your library you have a shelf of books about you, which is great. I wonder if he read them.
I think he did.
Elisabeth, förlåt mig. Herregud, jag bär mig åt som en idiot. Jag vet inte vad det tar åt mig. Jag är ju här för att hjälpa dig. Så var det där hemska brevet. Jag blev så besviken. Det var ju du som bad att jag skulle berätta om mig själv. Det var så skönt, du såg så snäll och förstående ut. Jag hade ju druckit en massa. Det var så skönt att få berätta alltihop. Så var jag väl lite smickrad också över att en stor skådespelerska som du brydde dig om att lyssna på mig. Någonstans tänkte jag väl att det vore roligt om du hade någon glädje av vad jag sa. Men vad hemskt det va? Det är rena exhibitionismen. Du Elisabeth, nu vill jag vill att du förlåter mig. Jag tycker så mycket om det. Du betyder så mycket för mig. Jag har lärt mig så mycket på dig. Jag vill inte att vi ska skiljas som ovänner.
Yeah, I'm almost sure that the track has to be around here because it's kind of the same. Yeah, it was between the bushes. Wow. This is amazing because it seems like old railroad. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you will never believe that this was used for a film shot. So, I mean, this is like, look at this work.
所以我觉得Bergman他的导演的作品给我最大的感受就是他没有让这个问题简单化，他在电影中他上升为一个精神层面的东西，他给你许多启发，所以进而去讨论我们人类是很有意思的，就是你问每一个人你活得好吗？可能大部分人都觉得自己是有困难的，是很少有几个人我现在特别满意的不得了，我就无所求了，可能没有。每个人都会有他自己生存的困难、困惑， 或者他的挣扎。
He redefined cinema. Andy Warhol was doing it his way in the early 60s. So many others, Godard, of course, you know. Truffaut was settling into another style by that time, by mid-60s. By 66, this was. I think Persona, just the montage in the beginning. Just, you know, I don't know if this is the kind of thing you say, well, I enjoy watching. In other words, but if you do watch it, you can't stop watching it.
Der ganze Beginn dieses Gedicht in Bildern ist natürlich schon enorm beeindruckend, weil das hat sonst eigentlich kaum jemand im Kino, im Spielfilm geschafft, eine lyrische Form ins Kino zu übertragen. Das ist schon enorm, ja.
I was kind of starting with this high point of European cinema that went to America, and that's what I was reading all about. And that movie is actually such a not an anomaly, but it's quite an, you know, in the body of Bergman's work, it's not really, you know, it's one that he went so, there's such a range of kinds of films that Bergman made. They're all his stories, but that one has this kind of experimental energy that sort of, you know, it's just deconstructs right in front of you. And it's not really like so much of his work. But that one I was very taken with.
It struck me how much he is what I wanted to be, a playwright who got to make what he wrote as films. I always wanted to write something and then get to make it, which was the blessing Bergman had. He had his little island, and he would write these original screenplays, plays. Some of them, I guess, had been plays even, and got to do that. So that was very attractive in his career for me. Most of the other great three filmmakers of that period was Fellini, Bergman, and Kurosawa, and they wrote, but they really wrote with a handful of collaborators. Bergman really wrote it himself, so if he wanted something weird to happen in his script, he could just do it. I go through that all the time when I would get to a point and I say, I really like to, then I say, well, what the hell, I'm just gonna do it, doesn't matter.
Det virker ikke som om, han har haft det rigtig roligt. Men han har virket ensom. Ikke? Han har sikkert haft nogle venner, det ved jeg, han har haft, som han har pratet med i telefon og sådan. Men han har haft utrolig ensom, mærkelig alderdom. Måske har han haft en masse angst, som vi ikke ved om. Han drak jo heller ikke, så vidt jeg ved. Der er ikke noget, der tyder på, at han har været alkoholiker, hvilket vil være naturligt at blive også, eller et eller andet, narkoman, hvad fanden ved jeg. Men det virker bare ikke som om, så har han gået rundt der på Fårö, som jo for mig er sort-hvid, fordi alle de der film, der blev optaget dengang, Persona og sådan, det altid er sort-hvid. Det er jo fandme ikke det sjoveste sted i hele verden. Det er jo altså ikke ligesom Disneyland at gå rundt i der. Man fornemmer en strenghed, som jeg tykker synd om honom for.
he liked to, when I spoke to him, he liked to, when he was on Fårö, see a film every day. And that was his entertainment. And I'm sure he had a tremendous collection because there he was isolated on this island. And he would talk to me about how he couldn't go to sleep at night unless he watched some kind of junk movie for a little while, you know, watch a little bit of like a James Bond thing or that kind of movie just to pacify him.
Vad är det för ordning här? Är det ordning mellan utländsk och svensk eller är det bara...
Nej, för det mesta är det bokstavsordning.
Ja, jag vet inte varför man ska ha så här många filmer. Det är klart, alltså, om man samlade på budord så var det ju ganska lätt. Det finns 10 och man kan lägga dem i en viss ordning. Sen är det ju klart. Men börjar man med det här så det tar ju aldrig slut.
Also bitte, mit 4 Sternen. Nicht 5 Sterne, nur 4 Sterne. Geht nicht, Schatzi, vergiss es.
Doch, bitte, warte einen Moment. Wenn ich dann so ungeduldig.
Okay, komm.
Das ist
So.
gut.
Thank you very much.
Würdest du ein Foto, würde ich gern...
Vissa rum känns ensamma och så undrar jag om det är för att de är tomma. Eller om de gjorde det även när han var här eller om man njöt av det. Om man på något sätt kunde hitta en sån här styrka i den solituden. För yrket i sig själv är så ensamt. Så är det så att han gjorde sig själv ännu mer ensam för att liksom acceptera det ödet. Jag kan inte liksom helt tro på det.
Ja, just det. Jaha, det är belysning som är dolda i de där grejerna. Ingmar Bergmans proppskåp. Det här var ju när Bergman hade sin sång- och dansperiod. När han var ute och sjöng och dansade i Charleston. Innan han var nazist.
Att vara här är lite makabert. Det är lite mer som har gjort inbrott och gått in i hans hus. Förstår du vad jag menar? Och det är lite så här... Det är lite gränsöverskridande.
Please stop him.
Jonas, kapa, vi måste ut härifrån.
I think I'm going to faint.
Yes?
No, it was like too much for me to enter this house. I don't know what.
Okay.
I feel terrible.
We'll take as much time as you need.
Do you want to lie down somewhere? No, I don't want to lay down. I don't want to be in the house anymore. I think it's frightening for me. Oh, I think it's too intimate. I think we could leave.
he did the best dreams, along with, he did the best fantasies and dreams in movies. He made things where people with no face and that sort of thing that you could normally see the makeup or the costuming. Didn't matter. He made it work. And Now Where the Wolfie Goes, I think, probably pushes it. And I think he seemed to be playing around with images from the Italian horror films of the time, or some of the Hammer films, you know.
Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. This is a terrible Hammer film.
I think it's very difficult to make a horror film that in some way isn't commenting on some part of the culture and is relevant to a certain group of people that can see beyond just the shock value of it.
Weil es wirklich schwer ist, dem auszukommen, dass die Gewalt ihre Attraktivität verliert. Kino ist ein Medium, das von der Aktion und sprich natürlich auch von der Gewalt lebt. Also ich glaube, dass Angst ein kultureller Motor ist. Wenn wir alle glücklich wären, bräuchten wir keine Kunst, brauchten wir gar nichts. Ja? Dann würden wir herumgehen wie im Paradies, hätten keine Angst und bräuchten keine Filme zu machen.
Det, som er roligt ved Bergman, er, at han har jo bøjer det jo som manuskriptforfatter. Og lavet, hvad den første film, han skrev, var det ikke Krise eller Hets eller noget sådan. Som han ikke regisserede selv. Og det vil sige, at på det tidspunkt har Bergman jo rent faktisk lavet mainstream-film. Det har jo da Bergman har bøjer, har det jo været, der er det ikke ham, der han måtte underkaste sig en publik, der skulle være der for at finansiere filmen. Senere hen har Bergman så fået et navn, så han har kunne føre en publik med sig hen til de steder, han vil hen. Men han har jo måttet bøje med at gøre nogle film, som havde nogle meget populistiske kvaliteter. Og det synes jeg er lykkedes rigtig smukt med Smuldrensstellet, fordi den har nogle virkelig gode karakterer. Men det hele drejede sig jo netop om at gå fra en film, som var mere anonym, til at gøre den mere personlig, sin stil. Og det var jo hans store talent og hans fremgang, der gjorde, at han kunne det. Fordi andre ville sige, det er der ikke nogen, der ser. Nu bliver vi nødt til at gå ned og lave noget mere mainstream igen. Og der havde han en lang årrække, hvor han dikterede, hvordan film skulle se ud. Og det var mycket imponerende.
Tala om det som inte har några ord. Hur ska man kunna tala om att det är tråkigt att ligga tillsammans fast allting förflyter perfekt på det tekniska planet? Hur ska man kunna säga att man har lust att slå till det där du sitter och är så prydlig och äter dina frukostägg? Och flickorna med sina dumma pretentiösa fasoner. Varför har vi skämt bort dem på det här hysteriska sättet? Kan du säga mig det? Jag anklagar inte dig, Marianne. Det har bara gått åt helvete. Ingen vet varför.
Jag måste ha gjort fel hela tiden.
Nej, men ge fan i det där, va? Det är en bekväm utväg att alltid ta skuld på sig.
Weil da aufs Einfachste reduziert ist, eigentlich in 5 Stunden 2 Personen im Prinzip. Ja. was sehr schwer ist, dass man das durchhält. Und auch thematisch auf das Banalste reduziert ist und das mit einem Reichtum anfüllt. Das ist die hohe Meisterschaft. Dass man, also das Einfache, der Brecht hat einmal gesagt, das Einfache, das so schwer zu machen ist. Ne? Das ist sozusagen unser aller Ziel, wenn man irgendwie künstlerisch arbeitet, dorthin zu kommen, zum ganz Einfachen, das ganz einfach aussieht, aber sehr komplex ist. Und die wenigsten erreichen das. Nicht? Und Szenen einer Ehe ist für mich so ein Paradebeispiel, wie man mit der Reduktion von Mitteln einen unglaublichen Reichtum schaffen kann an Wirklichkeit.
Jag tror folk glömmer bort vilken impact han hade på Sverige. Alltså, som den senare äktenskap visade sig att skilsmässovågen ökade med 50%. Det halvåret. Det är ju fantastiskt. Alltså, jag vet inte om det finns någon någon statistik över någon annan film som någonsin har påverkat ett land socioekonomiskt på det sättet. Alltså, jag menar, tänker det kostnader för advokater eller terapi eller alla andra Costa Gavra, Ponte Corvo, alla de som gör politisk film, det är målet att göra någonting där man faktiskt påverkar befolkningen. Och så gör Bergman en film om ett par och får förändrar hur ett land ser ut. Det är ganska coolt.
Där kommer man sniker det bara.
Ett ögonblick. Försök få tag i liv.
Ja. Kan du där hemma?
Är det bra så?
Den är.
Va?
She actually, I think, slipped a little note in his pocket. We were at a film festival saying, we are the two known Swedes and we have never worked together and I think we should try. Then Ingmar came out with the idea of Autumn Sonata and Mama was so tremendously pleased. She really saw and it became the farewell film of her career. I mean, she was already sick with cancer, so she knew she wasn't going to survive for long.
Nämlich das Talent der Schriftsteller, das ja enorm ist, und dann diese außerordentliche Begabung, mit Schauspielern umzugehen. Nicht? Etwas, was mich sehr inspiriert hat und auch beeinflusst hat, also dass man auf dieses Niveau kommt von schauspielerischer Leistung. Aber es gibt natürlich auch Szenen zwischen Schauspieler oder Schauspielerinnen, die kleben bleiben, die man nicht vergisst. Also wenn ich an die Szene denke zwischen Liv Ullmann und Ingmar Bergman in der Herbstsonate, das sieht man halt selten. Also sowas von Wahrhaftigkeit im Detail, das ist schon grandios. Da freut man sich immer, wenn man daran denkt, wie grandios das gemacht war.
Det förebrår mig för att jag reste. Det förebrår mig för att jag stannade hemma. Antagligen har du aldrig fattat att jag hade ett helvete de där åren. Jag hade ont i ryggen, jag kunde inte öva ordentligt. Mina konserter blev dåliga. Viktiga engagemang blev inställda. Jag tyckte att mitt liv hade blivit meningslöst. Samtidigt hade jag alltid dåligt samvete. Därför att jag var jämt borta från dig och pappa.
I imagine that he was inspired a little bit by her life. So he imagined a woman that was very successful, very taken with her career. She was a pianist in the film instead of an actress, but she was very glamorous, very beautiful, traveled the world, and she has back home 2 children that she has neglected. Mother was pleased to work with him, but a little bit irritated by the theory that inevitably a career woman would have to neglect her family. She thought that was very old-fashioned of Ingmar and put up a certain amount of resistance.
Ja, men alltså hon...
Så det är fasans, det här är ju avgrunden.
Ja, Tror hon ett ögonblick själv att hon kan...
She, I think, suffered in her life of being accused of having sacrificed us or her husbands or other aspects of her life to have a career, something that a man would not be automatically scolded for.
Oj, ursäkta, men det ser visst lite stökigt ut.
Kom upp till oss så ska du få en julklapp.
Jaha. Tack snälla, fru Ekdahl.
Se så, barn i säng nu.
Vad jag särskilt nästan kommer ihåg mest, alltså det var ju framförallt den här nervositeten, att jag var så nervös och tänkte hur ska det gå? Och med denna gigantiska regissör liksom. Men han var ju så otroligt fin. Och den första scenen vi gjorde, det kommer jag aldrig glömma, det var det här kuddkriget. Och jag kommer ihåg att jag tänkte då också, vad smart, vad genialt att börja med en sån här scen som bara är liksom svett och skratt och bråk och liksom vi skulle springa runt och jaga varandra där. Så det var så skönt och då var liksom bubblan spräckt på något sätt. Så efter det så var jag inte så nervös.
You know, he said to me once, I have this dream always that I show up on the set and I don't know where to put the camera. I don't know what to do. And, and it's a typical anxiety dream that I have, making film.
Jag tror att det var första filmdagen i Fanny och Alexander. Då skulle vi ta scener där och då på morgonen när vi kom in så tog han mig i handen så här och då kände jag hur spänd han var. Det liksom vibrerade i hela hans kropp. Jag var ju också nervös och så tänkte jag då, tänk om han blir arg på mig och tänk om han inte är nöjd med mig och så. Och det tänkte jag aldrig någonsin mer under hela inspelningen.
I think the most important thing with any director is that they give you a sense of not being able to do anything wrong, so that you can do stuff wrong. You can try stuff, but you're not afraid to try. You're not afraid to be sat on. You're not afraid that you're going to be sat on. It's important that not only the actors, but all the creative people, everybody on the set is able to feel comfortable so that they can do their best. And if something isn't quite working, then you figure it out. And the director would be the first to say, look, I don't know either, but let's figure this out.
My grandmother, she loved Ingmar Bergman. And so when I was 11 years old, I believe, a film had come out called Fanny and Alexander, and she took me to see it. And I remember as I entered the world of Bergman at a very young age, at an age that I was starting to want to become an actor, what I think she connected to from his films that meant so much to me is everything was seamless. The performances felt so deeply true that you never saw actors. Everything was so real that it was almost magical, so real that it was almost elusive, because it was like you couldn't believe you were watching a film. You felt like you were peeking inside someone else's life. And it was also my introduction to Liv Ullmann, who I think at that age, she and Jill Clayburgh, there were a few actresses who were so deeply authentic and so real that almost their breath and the pores in their skin made you feel everything the character was feeling. And so he was an immense inspiration for me in the kind of actor I would want to be and the kinds of filmmakers I could sort of dream up wishing to get to work with.
If he was alive and he called you up and said, well, I'm going to do this film about, you know, the existence of God and infidelity, and you want to have the lead here?
I'd say, well, what do you intend to do? Show me the script or the outline. I'd say, yeah, okay, you know, okay. I'd probably say it because it's him. And then I'd say, you know, whatever your reasons are, that's great. I'll figure out what I have to do. You have your reasons, I have mine, and we'll come together. I mean, that's with Marty, Scorsese is the same. We do things. Marty will have certain things that he's doing, I have that I do. We come together.
I never understood quite what a playwright he was. I didn't bother when I was a kid to say, well, who wrote this? And realize it's just Ingmar Bergman. I liked very much, very intrigued by Fanny and Alexander. It gets very strange at the end. But I see many things where, as the playwright, he just said, well, I'm just going to do that. You know, and Bergman himself has a kind of, Goethe, Wilhelm Meister story that Fanny and Alexander are sort of a little kid who plays with puppets, Goethe. Then when he grows up, he encounters Shakespeare, and they do Hamlet, and they analyze it. It's wonderful to read Goethe's analysis of. I'm sure Wilhelm Meister had a big influence on Bergman, but of course Strindberg did.
那种类型的电影，也许今天的时代可能看的人很少。但是无论怎么样，就是会觉得邦文先生就是那个方毅和亚历山大，就好像是已经预知这个社会要成为这个样子似的。他的电影已经有了一种未来的这个样子。
Jeg var mycket utilfreds med Fanny Alexander, det må jeg sige. Lars, hvad fanden hedder det? Furious. Bergman har jo ellers altid betragtet sin publik som ret intelligent. Og nu betragter han pludselig sin publik som idioter, altså. Og når jeg så ser Fanny Alexander, så ser jeg ligesom highlights fra alt det, som jeg elsker. Og det hader jeg jo at se. Jeg hader at se ting populariseret. Jamen, jeg ved, at Bergman ikke var specielt tilfreds med Fanny Alexander heller, altså. Men grunden til, at jeg ikke tykker om den, er fordi, at jeg tykker, at alle de ting har jo været sagt på en seriøs måde forøget. Og nu tager man ligesom highlights og tager ud fra nogle film, som har betydet en masse for mig. Og så tager dem ud og propper dem ind i en folkelig sammenhæng. Jeg tykte, det var blasfemi.
Det där så det är den stora magin, det där jäveln. Ja.
Det är som en ryser.
There's something that you can't copy. And Bergman had that. You know, I could shoot a close-up, some other director can shoot a close-up, and Bergman can shoot a close-up, and his close-up burns off the screen. It just is, because, you know, and I could be the same distance from the actor, and I could be a good actor, and it's just that he had something that that every great artist has, and that is an intangible gift.
所以中国也是有句老话叫"时势造英雄"，就是好像是整个一个时代造就的英雄一样。我相信伯格曼导演也是如此了。如果他那个时代，他当时那个所面临的整个世界的那个时代，造就了他这样一个天才。那些优秀的作品影响了整个人类，一定是这样子的。今天全世界的这个时代，好像很难造就出伯格曼导演这么伟大的导演来。当然，全世界有很多好导演，每年都有好作品，但是没有这么伟大的一个影响整个电影历史的人物，今天好像没有出现。谢谢。
Does this island have these kind of sunsets all summer? So this is Ingmar did this for me. There are certain world-class filmmakers that share something, which is they are recognized as world-class artists, but not in their own country. And I was with Fellini in Rome, and he had no respect in Italy. His last 2 or 3 movies hadn't made money, so he was not considered bankable. And it was like, you know, Fellini, you know, the Italians. And I'm going, it's Fellini! Same thing with Bergman, same thing with, you know, Sajid Ray in India. They still don't like Sajid Ray. And he is like their greatest filmmaker. He is a world-class artist, no respect in India. This leads me to 2 things that are interesting. One is this weird lack of respect in your own country, which I don't know what that's about, but it's international. But then the other remarkable thing to me, because unfortunately I've lived through this, where people I know and work with then die and become mythological. And that's a very strange thing. They become these mythological figures. And I don't know what I think about that. I don't know. I don't know if that's bad, but I know it's weird. And I think that, you know, being here at Bergman's house, from now on, when I think of Ingmar Bergman, I'm going to think of his films, but now I'm also going to think of his incredible house, incredible place. Man, he's left this body of work that's forever.
Så har jeg jo set alt, hvad Bergman har gjort. Og det tror jeg ikke engang Bergman selv har gjort. Så det er med commercials, det er alt, hvad han ligesom har lavet. I time efter time efter time. Det værste af alt, det var, at han havde jo en slags kontakt til Thomas Vinterberg. Det er jo frygteligt. Når Thomas Vinterberg har set en Bergman-film, måske som er F&aring Alexander højst sandsynligt i sit liv. Ikke, hvorefter han straks bliver udpeget til ham, som Bergman taler med i telefon. Jeg har aldrig talt med Bergman i telefon, for helvede. Jeg har skrevet, jeg ved ikke hvor mange hyldestbreve til Bergman. Aldrig fået svar. naturligvis. Men det er fair nok, jeg kan også godt forstå det. Men så på et tidspunkt så tænkte jeg, nej fandme, han skal have dem alligevel, det skider jeg på. Det er det samme. Og så så jeg Smultresnældet igen, da jeg lavede en film i Troldhænderen. Så sagde jeg, og så skrev jeg til ham, at det er fandme en fantastisk film, og jeg vil skide på, om man svarer eller ej. Og det gør han jo ikke. Jeg svarer jo heller ikke på en masse af de der. Ja, på et eller andet tidspunkt får man nok, men nu er han jo død. Så på et eller andet tidspunkt så siger man, fuck Bergman, altså. Nu lever jeg mit eget liv. Jeg er 55 år gammel. Han, der har ligesom aldrig ønsket nogen kontakt. Fint, så glemmer vi Bergman. Jeg har det samme med min far, som jo så viser sig ikke at være min far, som døde, da jeg var 18. Og der er en masse samtaler, jeg gerne ville have haft med ham, for ligesom at runde tingene af. Og da jeg har det samme forhold til Bergman lidt, så ærger det mig sgu, at han ikke kunne have den gamle lort bare sagt, kom op til Fårö, så snakker vi sammen en time. Det går en kraftedeme godt have gjort. Det er jeg sur over. Ja, jeg elsker ham jo, selvfølgelig. Han betyder sindssygt meget for mig. Det dumme svin.
Är du trött?
Ja.
Mm. Då tackar vi för oss, tror jag.
Tak. Tak. Hold da kæft. Jeg er fuldstændig sindssygt. Jamen nu fuck Bergman.
Here, and she's gonna walk you down when you're ready to go.
Perfect.
You guys, thank you so much.
Bye.
Då så.
Då är vi klara. Tack ska du ha.
Bye.
Min generation var ju Tarantinos generation. Man kände inte att man hade rätt att vara regissör på det sätt som alla andra hade varit tidigare. Men vi hade rätt att slita det ur händerna på dem och göra om det till vårat. Och det var alltid liksom min attityd att så här, ge mig pengarna, om du inte ger mig pengarna så gör jag filmen ändå. Och du kan inte stoppa mig. Den kommer bli gjord och den kommer bli färdigställd. Och när den är färdigställd så kommer den vara åtminstone lika bra som de andra skitfilmerna du har på bio. Så antingen är du med på tåget eller så är du inte. De vet inte vilka vi är. Vi har bara börjat. Vi har knappt fått lov att göra någonting.
Vi säger inte adjö, det är förskräckligt att säga adjö, så det gör vi inte heller. Vi ses på festen och då jävlar, då ska vi ha skoj. Skål på er allihopa. Skål på er. Hej, hej. Hej.
I had an interesting experience. I don't know if this anecdote is useful, but it is about the death of Bergman in the sense that I just met my young wife and she hadn't seen any of his movies. And some morning in my summer house, in the middle of the sun actually, I showed her Fanny and Alexander, which was weird because it was morning, but that's what we did. And she wept and she said, this must be the best film I've ever seen and blah, blah, blah. So it still worked. And then on like an hour later, the phone rings. And it's from an English newspaper, I think it was from Independent, saying, wanting to do an interview about Bergman. And I said, it's funny because we just watched this movie and blah, blah, blah. And we put ourselves into the car going back to Copenhagen. The interview went on for 1.5 hours or 1 hour or something. And I said, at the end of it, I said, well, but why are you calling me to talk about Bergman today? And she said, oh, didn't you know? He passed away this morning. So we actually watched this movie as he passed away, which was an interesting experience.